Welcome everybody. So hopefully folks are streaming back in after the networking sessions. I am very excited about our next session. Incredibly dynamic, urgent call to action, meaningful opportunity to connect with some deep expertise and real experience in building community through food. And first though, I wanted to share a little video from a friend of ours, a friend of the forum. So first I'm going to share a video from Susan Rockefeller. Susan's a friend of the forum, a friend of Kristen Coates, who's with us today. And Susan has been a real early pioneer in film and activism around food systems. And so I just wanted to share a brief video from Susan, and then we will get started on the session.
Hey, Sun Valley Forum, it's Susan Rockefeller here, and if you go to susanrockefeller.com, I'm happy to share my film, Food for Thought, Food for Life. I'm hoping it will help inspire you in all your ideations. Hey, Sun Valley Forum, it's Susan Rockefeller here, and if you go to susanrockefeller.com, I'm happy to share my film, Food for Thought, Food for Life. I'm hoping it will help inspire you in all your ideations about a future food system that is more just and more equitable, more nutrient dense and regenerative. And thanks to Kristen Coates and Amy Christensen for allowing me access, and hoping that you have a fantastic forum, and I am hoping to participate and listen in as well. I am in Maine. I have my mint that is growing. What's great about nature is that if you treat it with love and kindness and listen to what the land tells you to do, nature comes back in full abundance. So thank you for all being part of an ecosystem of working together for a food system change that will benefit humanity, human health, and planetary health. Thanks so much.
All right.
Hey, Sun Valley.
Thank you. So welcome back. Really excited about our next session. So first of all, I'm going to introduce Eammon Store. Eammon has been with the forum, a friend, advisor to the forum for several years now, brings incredible depth of expertise. He's worked with global media networks to digital startups, really respected for his ability to simplify the complex with an infectious ability to bring teams along with him on those missions that capture his imagination. He's a real doer in this world of making change. In 2014, he joined The Guardian as CEO for North America, incredible, fiercely independent 200-year-old news brand out of the UK. And Eammon now, since 2017, founded FairShare. And he drew inspiration from his time at The Guardian with his many connections to individuals and NGOs making a difference and working for the greater good. And he now spends full time at FairShare helping to build partnerships and impact at scale. And Eammon is our host for an incredible session with our friend Mark Brand. I'll let Eammon introduce Mark, but Mark, we have the honor of having you with us for the last several years, and it's always powerful, and we're ready for you. Hold on to your seats, everybody. Eammon.
Somebody was trying to take the mic off me already. I haven't even started. I don't know who that was. Yeah, so great to see everyone again. I've been following along right from the start a couple of hours ago. Some really good conversation and some quite high-level conversations and quite a lot of conversation around institutional issues. And now I think this is the perfect time to bring back our friend, those of you that have been to Sun Valley over the years, certainly last year. Was it last year or year before, Mark? But we've had Mark with us. He came out, worked with the children. It was amazing. He cooked for us, spoke, made us cry. And so for many of you, you'll be familiar with him already. For those of you who don't, there's a long list of introductions for Mark. He's a restaurateur, I guess, foremost. He's got something like 10 plus businesses under his belt. He's an accomplished chef and known by many for that, for the work that he does around that. He's a DJ. He's a social impact activist. He works as a champion in mental health, food security, addiction support, all across underserved communities, both growing really with his business out of Canada and now into North America, where I've had the privilege of working with him for the last few years. He's also a teacher, but I think probably one of the things you'll take from this conversation with Mark is he's quite he's really a very accomplished design thinker and systems thinker, and that, I think, is what sets him apart from many. So we're gonna. I'm always cautious of thinking that I could moderate Mark. He's a law unto himself. I'll be quite happy to let him go in the time we've had. I am going to try and focus on getting you some questions. I think we've struggled with our questions on the timing today, so we will try and allow some space for some questions. But I really want to start, Mark, as someone who's, I know you're going to, in fact, let's just start with, I know you wanted to do a piece to begin with, and then we'll get into some questions.
Sure. And first of all, I'm super honored to be back. This is my third year. Amy and I were talking yesterday, and we felt like it was the fourth, but it's my third year at the forum, and I wish that I could be there and we could all be together in person. But I'm sending safety and light and love to everybody, and we have to stay vigilant. Got to stay vigilant and influence our circle so we can get back to doing the things that we love and being back together. That's number one. Number two, I want to acknowledge that I am right now in Vancouver, British Columbia, which is the unceded territory and land of the Musqueam, Squamish, and Tsleil-Waututh peoples. And I feel very blessed and lucky to be able to reside on these lands and to try and help in reparations for the rightful landowners. And wherever you are in the world, I think it's really important for you to understand that these are Indigenous lands that you are on, chances are, first. So to know that and to center those voices whenever you can. So those are the things that I wanted to say. I'm 2 blocks from the downtown east side of Vancouver, British Columbia, which is known as one of the largest open-air drug markets and densest areas of mental illness and homelessness. And just true marginalization that exists on the planet, not just in Canada. And so if you're familiar with the Tenderloin District or have been in and around the Mission or have seen Skid Row in Los Angeles, it's that, but imagine a pressure cooker of about 5 blocks. So I've worked here for about 15 years, as Eamonn alluded to, opening different businesses, restaurants, galleries, live music venues, all trying to center the conversation around building true community, which then pivoted in 2011 to opening the first of its real kind. It was the early in the B Corp movement, social impact incubator, which is jargon for a place to test out social justice projects around food. And we incubated, meaning that we put a roof over and gave free rent to lots of businesses that were working in urban agriculture, employing people who were formerly incarcerated or facing street entrenchment and things of the like. And we built an entire organization around the thought that there is no us and them, that there is only us, and that we use our ability to disassociate to ignore problems that ultimately cost us as a society much greater costs, both financially and then mentally. So that's sort of the center of our work. And as Eamonn alluded to, I run a charitable organization called the Better Life Foundation, and A Better Life was founded here in 2013, established in the U.S. With wonderful Eamonn on our board in 2019. And we are establishing in Mexico as soon as we're allowed to travel again, with the hope that we can take best practices from all of the Americas and help us all get back to a place of having equal access to food and to opportunity. So I think that sets the stage a little bit, Eamonn. If I missed anything, please feel free to add.
I'm really curious because knowing you over the years, like the physicality of what you do, right? In the kitchen, with kids, in community, in service, but physical, like in physical service. Mm-hmm. And someone who, I don't know how many days a year you travel, but you're always on the move. Like, how has this period been for you? Like, what's it been like? How have you dealt with it?
I'm just noticing in my body right now that I'm still having reactions to that 5 months in, right? To being like, it's okay. It's okay. You're okay. So I'm immunocompromised. I have heart, lung, and kidney conditions that my doctors insisted I lock down immediately. So I was working in Asia, in Thailand, with the government there on food programs for the elderly. And I had a tremendous couple of weeks in Chanthaburi province and also in Chiang Mai. And while I was there, COVID hit. It was hidden, essentially. And then Asia got very serious about it. And I was speaking to North America. And I was like, hey, guys, we gotta get ready. We have to be ready for what's coming. And there's like, this is not an us problem. That's a them problem. which is counterintuitive to our entire narrative. Like, no, it's coming. And so we did some dinners in Los Angeles with one of our partners, Swipe Out Hunger, which focuses specifically on college hunger. And so I was cooking in LA Community College with students, and it was you could feel energetically, you could feel what was coming. And so I got my butt back to Vancouver and worked on closing down our businesses, our forward-facing businesses, to make sure everybody was safe. And everybody thought it was crazy. Like, this is a little aggressive. Like, we don't have these issues. And then everything shut down the 21st. And there was a void. Right? There was an energetic void, and people just didn't know what to do with themselves. I don't want to blow the Canada horn too hard, but we showed up with essentially a match of UBI, Universal Basic Income. We created the CERB relief for people to get $2,000, no questions asked, unemployed. So people had their safety and some of their needs met pretty quickly. So what that did was free up their mind and also their time to figure out what's going on in the world. So it's a tremendous opportunity. While one door closes, one opens. We know this. And the door that opened was people's awareness to actually be still long enough to take a look around at themselves, at the way that they're showing up in the world, and what actually makes them happy, spending time with their family, not working 4 jobs just to make ends meet, not feeding into a capitalism system that's ruined us, really ruined us. So they're learning so much about themselves. And so when they do, then they start to look out. And a mutual friend, Mario Lagai, who was part of creating Voto Latino out of New York, is one of my best friends. I actually ordained him, even though I'm not legal to do so, at his wedding last year in Oakland. And I said to him, how are you doing? And I DJ'd that wedding too. He said, as a lifelong organizer, you feel like you're pushing a wall constantly, and you make very little, if incremental, change in people's perception of your issues, if you're lucky. He said, what COVID has done is remove the wall altogether, and you have everybody looking at you like you're in a bad dream in your underpants on stage, asking you every question that they never wanted the answer to before. And so this is that moment, right? Everybody suddenly wants to understand everything about BIPOC. They didn't even know what that was a word. They thought that might have been a rapper. And it's like, no, this means Black, Indigenous, people of color. Like, this is where we are. So oppression has become centered. All of these things have happened. And then people don't know how to act, and they're acting in one way and then realizing the next day that wasn't appropriate. Discovery is messy. It's very messy. And that's okay. It's supposed to get that way. And as you sort of unearth, and as people are unearthing themselves, they're learning so much. And for us, Eammon, bringing it back to your question, tremendous opportunity time. So in Vancouver here, we were providing just about 900 meals a day to people who were living in shelters, in single-room occupancy hotels. And those meals were cooked and created by people who were formerly dealing with very serious barriers to employment. And it's beautiful. It's led by an Indigenous woman in that kitchen, Vanessa Watersworth, who's exceptional. And in this time, we actually were able to rally the 10 years of the work that we've done here in the downtown east side, bring partners together, and increase our output of those meals 250% a day. So we're up to almost 2,000 a day. We also changed, as you alluded to, the conversation, which was we would deliver our meals in hotel pans, and we would deliver dishes with them so people living in those hotels or shelters would serve each other and eat and get to know each other in community. COVID took that away. That's not a possibility because you're dealing with the most vulnerable people. Their health issues are astronomical. So we had to figure out a way to create love into containers. And it gave us an opportunity to develop new containers. Like, what does it look like to truly be a biodegradable and compostable container? Well, they didn't really exist 100%. So there's a way to play with that. And so every part of the system became a focal point. So for me, all the stuff that I would take on the road, I thought there's a moment here to really dig into the originator, which was at Save On Meats and ABLF, and further increase our best practices so that when we are able to go back out in the world, that we can take those models with us. And I feel confident that we've been able to do that. And that's on the Canada side. On the US side, and I'll be brief on this one because I do want to take questions, we created what you were a very big part of helping us out with, which is Sharpen Up. So before we closed, we were going into areas like Brownsville and working in partnership with Help USA, which is one of the largest housing providers in North America, but the biggest one in New York, run by our dear friend Maria Cuomo Cole. So she's running that org, and we were starting to provide critical training in and around food and the power of food with kids and their moms and dads, a lot of single parents, and living in social housing. So we were able to go to truly meet people where they are and bring supplies and teach. And that was amazing. So after doing a few of these meetings, we put on our thinking caps and said, how can we teach people where they are? And I thought about, how are we getting our groceries right now? How are we getting food? And mine was coming to my door touchless. So I thought, why don't we just ask people what they really like to eat, who are marginalized, who don't have access to food right now, send them food that they want, then convene on Zoom, because everybody's got a device. So as kids and families, ask all the questions you ever wanted to know about cooking for 2 hours with myself and Chef Eris Johnson, who's the 2017 USA Chop Champion, an incredible woman who just joined our executive board. And we would hang out and we would demonstrate things. And then we would do a 1 hour one-on-one class with people in their homes, send them a second round of food, and teach them something they wanted to learn how to cook. And when you learn how to cook, it's kind of like learning how to paint. You understand the hard skills of holding a knife and boiling water and safety and seasoning. Then you can become an artist of your own, right? So that's the 1 hour. And then we would do the final get together, which would be Chef Eris and myself, and then everybody together. And we would send groceries again, and people would cook for us. And when I say people, I mean Black or brown people, generally youth, and their families. They cook for us, and then they would present to us. They would show us their plates. And we wouldn't judge them. We would just have conversation about it and then bring in a musical guest. You can see my energy change when I'm sharing this, because to my amazement, this is more impactful to people because we're truly meeting them even further where they are in their own homes with their own tools, with their own asks, and teaching them truly the power of food. So COVID has done a lot of things for us positively, and we're holding two poles: the pain, the loss, the awareness, the awakening. All of those things are here. And on this side, it's the opportunity to build that world that we've all wanted, that are in this sphere, and have people's attention.
And we're gonna speak with Nate Moot later about the sort of massive pivot of like World Central Kitchen, but logistically, like for the power of a Better Life Foundation and the different programs, whether it's Plenty of Plates or What's in the Bag or Sharpen Up, all these programs, but that physicality of coming together, like, do you feel like this societal change of like teaching people in their own rooms, bringing families and kids together, cooking, the logistics of getting stuff there, do you feel like it's a permanent, is this the next normal? Is it going to stay with us?
In some aspect, yeah, it will. Like there is I can again feel myself being like, I don't want that to be real, but it's real. Particularly lack of leadership and any understanding of the depths of the danger here. And so as it continues to unroll, it's unchecked. And so in some places they're doing it really well, but what we're talking about, particularly the United States right now, is in a lot of trouble. And so while that is there, we can only plan as far as we actually know, right? And so we can have contingencies for the fact that we would love to. I would love to say to you, hey, Eammon, you know what? We're going to be at the Harlem Food Bank together again in December. I can't say that with any confidence. What I can say is that we will continue to support the NYC Food Bank in other ways and be training and doing remote work while we get excited to be back together. We will convene again, and people are convening right now in person with distancing. And it's really interesting because a block away from here, I also own a slow food restaurant and cocktail bar that I've had for 11 years. And it took me 3 months to reopen past when we were allowed to. In British Columbia, we have very low cases, very low deaths. We're in like under 200. People have passed, and that's still a hell of a lot of people. But our opioid crisis took that many last month. So we have far more pressing issues in our health realm. So we figured out a way to get open with plexis, with spacing, with open air. And when I first looked at it, I was really upset. Like, I don't want people to come to this experience. And then we filled in some space with plants, and we figured out how our staff could be totally protected, the rules that we would need for our guests, the sanitizing station, all of the things that needed to happen to truly give people safety. And they love it. and they're thrilled, and there's subsidies in place, and there's a way for us to still be able to gather in smaller groups. So I think if anything, Eammon, our new normal will be a deeper appreciation for each other and for the moments that we have together. And I don't mean that in any facetious way. I mean that deadly serious. Like, we took a lot of things for granted in our freedoms, and I think having glimmers of them back hopefully allows us to act better as humans going forward.
And I want to just, I'm looking at the chat. So for anyone who has questions, please make sure you put them up there, and I'll make sure I get them in, because I know we've been a little bit talky with the speakers up till now. So try and interact if you can. One of the questions I had while we're waiting is, you've been obviously successful on the commercial side with the restaurant industry and hugely impactful on the non-profit. I feel like this is like a turning point where I don't feel like I've always felt the restaurant model is like questionable at best. The margins are low. People work hard. They work over hard. They're underpaid. Like, how's it? I was in New York at the weekend. So many places are still closed. They're still in a very, it looks very unclear to me how the industry comes back. Is there just a whole new model? Like, are landowners or property owners going to have a different kind of profit share model versus master and servant? How are big providers going to turn up? I don't know. What do you think?
It's been an incredible moment for that too. So zooming all the way out, because all of these things out here, supplier, thousand 24-ounce meals a day, we go through a tremendous amount of food and production and like what we are putting out. So as a production facility is a little different than a restaurant. My menu I developed for the Diamond is all cured now. And we have vegan cheeses and cured meats, et cetera, because wastage is at the very top of my mind, right? We don't have the luxuries to create the food that we used to. The system was always broken. The restaurant business has always been a disaster, period. And the only reason you can succeed in it, and I think you alluded to it, is if you own the real estate or you're part of a chain that's putting out frozen chicken bags from one of the big suppliers, and your markup is 300% because you've adapted the model of it being almost a nightclub. So that's what that is. True restaurants struggle so hard, and of course 5% make it. People know that 5% make it in general and still enter the business because we love service. We truly love hosting people, entertaining people, creating, nourishing people, educating. A restaurant should be a classroom. It should be a place in which you enter and learn about local suppliers. You learn about the food systems. You learn about history. You learn about innovation. You should learn about all of those things in a restaurant. It should satiate those things for you. It should make you curious. It should feel romantic. It should feel like it takes you away. And all of those things are absolutely at risk right now. We are having a homogenized moment that the US has been experiencing for 30 years. But across the planet, where individual operators said, you guys thought that we made money doing this. We don't, right? We needed to be open 7 days a week, and we needed these long things, and we needed full occupancy. And at best, at our very, very best, we make 15%. 1-5. What kind of business is that? You gotta love it, right? You have to adore it. So we're in a place right now where we've seen, just on my block right here, I'll give you an example. There's 15 retail fronts. 9 of those are for lease. This is the hottest neighborhood in the city. 9 out of the 15 are for lease. So small business in general is taking a shellacking like it's never seen before, right? And people are also removing their shingles and saying, I fought long and hard, but I don't know how to do this. I don't know what this is. And so there is got to be a support and an understanding that the restaurant, that the cafe, that the neighborhood bar is an essential service to a neighborhood community, understanding, politics. All of those things live in those spaces. They're fostered, they grow in those spaces. I created every one of my businesses sitting in a restaurant that wasn't mine. That's where the ideas come from and where the place feels safe and you're being looked after. When those spaces go away, our isolation increases. And so I think that we really do truly need to understand what the repercussions are for the small producers who have the answers to soil health, to helping us understand how to move forward, the keys, right? The traditional landholders. Those people who are doing that work do not have support without the independent restaurant or the farmer's market. It's gone. When they dry up, we're left with crop farming en masse of 5 or 6 different products and some cattle, and then we're left with 5,000 chilies in your neighborhood. And there's only so many shitty fajitas anybody can eat. So I hope that we can understand that we gotta focus on small business, on the people who are doing them, how we can support them in this moment, because we want to see them on the back end. And that's not self-serving, because I want my friends to succeed. We have models that make sense. We know how to navigate this.
I'm gonna connect to that a couple of questions that are coming through, and I'm going to try and connect them up. We've got this issue about the sort of creaking mass food supply chain, kind of creaking at the seams. You've got farmers who rely 40% of their businesses on restaurant business. We've got you and people like you, almost a bifurcation of the restaurant business, people that play with it and people that live in it and are passionate about it. How did the system regenerate to put healthy food back on the plates of the served?
I think the quick answer to that is we had the 100-mile diet that became a trend, that became a buzzword and lost its power. The point of it was that everything that you need to subsist, if you're living in a certain area, should be able to be brought to you through seasons, so you can also love and appreciate those seasons. I got peaches from the Okanagan that I got last week. It's a heavenly experience. Those things need to matter. Those local suppliers need to matter, right? So those suppliers can scale and grow when we feed them, literally, with resource, with money, with support. All of those things are important to us. So I think we have to keep our focus on what's important, which is supporting local. And, that drum's been being beat for many years now. But in this moment, it's critical because it's also the health of the planet. When we think about how far we move things and why and what the emissions cost is and what all of that looks like. When people are eating avocados in New York in December, I get confused. I'm like, what are we doing right now? Why are we doing this? Like, the produce from Long Island and Queens, by the way, is incredible. And I say that to people like, what are you talking about? Right? So we're so used to and reliant on systems of getting us exactly what we want, exactly when we want it. And it's a selfish and impossible way to sustain a planet. So when we get used to what the seasons look like and what we can then help and support with, we feel better. The hundreds of things that get added to these food and supply chains that just hurt us. I can't eat anything with a pesticide. My whole face blows up like a puffy urchin. Like, I can't, right? And I know that it poisons other people in different ways. It's just more extreme for me. Listen to your body. I'll leave with this. Listen to your body when you eat something. There's an incredible book. A guy named Charles Eisenstein wrote The Yoga of Eating. It sounds super hippie. It is not. It's about literally when you put something in your mouth, how does it make you feel? And I promise you that anything that you eat from a chain restaurant or that you eat from a supermarket that has traveled 3,000 miles to get to you does not make you feel good. And it affects your mental health and your physical health. And so if that's the only option that you have, marginalized populations, centering them again, you don't have an opportunity to dream and to grow and to flourish, because what you're doing is poisoning yourself without a choice.
And another example of like the heart of the community you sit in is all the kind of pieces around that core service to the community. Save on Radio. Justin had a question about sort of restorative music and your vinyl collection, which we can see sitting behind you. Like, how has Save on Radio evolved through this? How important is it to the community? I know it's hugely important to you in terms of like music.
Music is essential to food to me. And I don't just say that as a music lover. I say it as everything that we do centers around those two things as humans. All of our good memories, all the things that we create are around those two things. These are important to me because prior to a digital era, this was how you sourced everything. So as a DJ, if you didn't have the record, you couldn't play it. You couldn't just go on the internet and do it. And so the stories of how these things come to be have true testament to like the willingness to entertain and to hold space for people. Musicians and DJs have saved so many lives during this thing and asked for almost nothing in return. They're streaming nonstop. You can find them on IG Live, on Twitch, which is the best quality. I'm playing a set in 2 weeks. It's incredible. And they're showing up because they love what they do more than anything. It's not like, I'm not playing until the nightclub reopens. No, it was never about the nightclub. It was never about any of that. It was about breaking music for people to love and sustain themselves and enjoy. We have a radio that Eamonn was alluding to, radio station that's street front. If anybody's ever seen the movie Do the Right Thing, it's based on that radio station. And it literally sits in the center of the opioid epidemic and has 50 plus shows of independent people who lost their jobs because of the amalgamation of media, right? Because nobody has a job in radio anymore because we play robots and we play the same 40 songs to the entire planet. So we created the station and created the digital platform and the streaming platform for people to be able to still be brilliant and beautiful and hear things that, which is an important analogy just for news in general, hear things that aren't what everybody else is doing. And so fostering that community has always been the center, all of these different communities at the center of what we design. Because a truly healthy community has healthy nodes of all of these things: arts, culture, true news and media, music, and food is the center part of all of it.
Yeah. That's all we got time for, mate. I can't believe how quickly half an hour goes. I feel like there's questions are pouring in now. How can people, just to say goodbye, how can people get hold of you?
I'm easiest to ask questions to, and I respond to everything on Instagram, and it's just my name @mark.brand. Feel free to throw me a note in the DM. I take a lot of time to answer these questions. I believe in fostering my community there, so I'm there. Twitter's not really my thing. It seems kind of snarky. I like Instagram. I can block people at leisure as well. So yeah, come through and say hello, and thank you for choosing to spend this 30 minutes of your life force with us. I really do appreciate it.
Mark and Eamonn, thank you so much. Mark is always inspiring, informative, tons of comments in there, really just grabbing on a piece of what you shared. So I'm sure you'll get some questions through on Insta. And thank you for inspiring us, and thank you for all you've done over the years, working with the local community, the youth here on the food system, connecting to food. And so thank you.